Yesterday we were able to translate all of this in IntelliJ. We've not been able to execute any code yet, right? But we were able to install our Chrome driver. So we have our Chrome driver here, and then we created some files, Java files. So we said we will be looking into an application called Source Demo. But before we look into that application, right, we will want to finish what we started yesterday regarding this Selenium web form.html. So this was all we did yesterday. So how do we continue from here? Now, when we taught us Java Basic, you recall that we said a lot about the main method, right? And so if you look at this class that we created yesterday, we have the class test base, and we have the constructor, right? But this constructor as it is, we can make use of it because, yeah, we have this dot driver. The rest of it are supposed to be in another method or in a main method. So what we will do now is to continue with this code. We'll create we'll create a main method, okay? So let's create a main method. So all of these things, they are not magic. Once you understand how to code normally and you know what you want to achieve with the codes, then it becomes what easy to manipulate. Right? Now, in your main method, you remember that we were trying to instantiate our driver yesterday, and at the end of the day, we ended up with this that we could not even use. So let's say we are declaring our driver here, right? And now we are instantiating it here in the main method, right? So I have web driver equals to new Chrome driver. Chrome driver is the specific driver which I want to use, right? So that's why it is what new Chrome driver. Now another thing is, again, we have videos, we have this. We need to move some of these methods, some of these lines of codes into their methods. So I will create another method and call it let me call it setup. So you can create a method and call it any name though. So create something called what? Setup. So I'm having all of this suggestion um from intelligence of either my Copilot or the other intelligence plugin that I have on my IntelliJ. So we have the method called what? Setup. Now what will happen is, because in your base class you want to set up your number one, your Chrome driver, and put, let's drag this thing down. It's blocking the screen. So you want to, okay, I've zoomed this out. So in your base class, what do we want to achieve again? We want to like set up the Chrome driver. We want to be able to launch the Chrome driver. After launching it, we want to be able to navigate to that URL, this one here. And after navigating to it, then we want to perform other actions like this below. Okay, so in my setup, I will put the setup of the system property, and what, and this one. Okay, so this is what I'll put here. Remember, you can do driver.get, or you can do driver.navigate to. I remember I was trying to do navigate to yesterday. So let's see. So you can do driver dot. We couldn't go get navigate to because we didn't instantiate this yesterday. So now we should be able to find our navigator. Okay, so you have navigator, but that will be a different URL. So we'll put a different URL here. So there are so many best practices when it comes to developing your framework, but we are not talking about framework right now. What we are doing is to learn how to write automated test cases. That's all we are doing. Sorry that I have cold. So all we are doing is we are trying to set up um, your tool to be able to write your automated test cases. And when we get to building the framework, we will adjust all of our test cases. Okay, so we have this setup here. Now let's see another thing. Now we have something called driver.getItem, driver.manage this. We can decide to put all of this under our main method, because normally, because all of these are tests, they should actually go to what? The test, something like, yeah, this part, the test directory, your test class. That is where it should be. These ones here should go to your mappings page, while the action methods, the actions should go to do what? To what? Your pages. But we will get there. There's no jumping. So for now, we'll put these ones here. We'll put them under our what? Under our main method. So what we want to do now is we want to launch our Chrome browser, and we want to ensure that it navigates to what? To this URL. Okay, and thereafter, um now this setup, it is still useless. You see, no usages, right? So in order to be able to make sure that setup is being called, what do? You know what it means to call a method in another method. We have done this severally in Java. All right, so what do we do here? We will let's say the flow of sequence. So let's say we call it here. We call it here. As soon as you instantiate your driver, we can call the setup method here. Now we can call it, let's see, test based setup. Test based dot setup. What error am I getting? Okay, let's make setup static. Okay, good. So now we have do I have, can make that okay. Driver dot quit is probably after the entire test. So we can just put it maybe here. Okay. And then so when you look at this now, you have instantiated your what? Your Chrome driver, and then you are doing calling the setup method, which will read the what? The property, the Chrome property. And where is your Chrome driver? It's going to read this, right? And then it's going to navigate to this URL. Once it gets to this URL, what will it do next? It will do this. No, it will do this. Like it will get the title of what? Of the browser. Yesterday we talked about getting the title of a web page. We said you can get it from the header in the HTML structure under elements in DevTools. All right. So you get the title. You also do what? Your manages talks about you waiting for element to do what? To be available to interact with. This is an implicit wait. So we'll also maybe later on talk about the implicit and the explicit wait. Now, this web element, we already said that web element is what? Is an object from what? From the Selenium, right? Just like your web driver. And we already made this what? This one is like a placeholder for the text box. The same way you create your variable. So we say this one is what? Not a variable now, but an object. So we have a text box object of the web element, and then what we are doing right now is to do what? Is to find element by name. So we talk more about finding elements. There are other means of finding elements, right? So, but because we followed directly the Selenium documentation, so we are just going to execute this and see um how this gets to be executed, right? Okay, I think we can execute this code. Let's see what will happen. All we have done is just move some bunch of codes around after creating their methods. We've not done anything yet. Okay, so this is getting executed. We said it is supposed to do what? To launch the Chrome driver, right? And then it's supposed to do what? To navigate to this. So I can see that the Chrome is being launched, right? Okay. Now it's been launched, but we can't see anything in here. Or how many is being launched? This is our normal browser. This is the Chrome browser here. Right. Okay. Now let's see what is going on. We have this one says the driver is null, and this one says okay. So that means that we need to call our setup before we call the Chrome driver. Okay, learn to be able to interpret the logs, please. So this is supposed to come before you instantiate your driver, right? Because if it just navigates there, it's not going to, I mean, if it just launches, it's not going to drive any navigation. This driver that is introduced here has to first be instantiated, right? Now, that is why the moment you
Live there.
put that line, can somebody mute their mic? Okay, please mute your mic, or we can just do it within this place. I think it's better to put our Chrome, this instantiation, let's put it here. Okay, this is a better way. And then when we launch the setup, it reads line by line, and then this driver is put into action, right? It will then drive the URL into and make it visible. Okay, so let's close this and execute this again. Okay, so we have so this is getting launched again. So this time around, this actually launches what with the URL. Can you see? This launches with the URL, and it's possible that you optimize your browser. So you can say java.manage.maximize. Let's see where we can put that. I asked you to get that too, but of course, it will probably not get it here because this is not a test setup. It's not a test setup. So it might just come here and stop. Let's see where it stops. It stops on line 20. Yeah, right. What was the excuse on line 20? Unable to find an exact match for CDP. Returning closed version 134. Update Selenium version that supports CDP 135. Oh, Selenium version. What was the Selenium version we used in our POM? This is, although I don't think that should be the issue, but let's see. Selenium 4.3.0. We got this from the Maven repository. Okay, so we have our Selenium Java here. Mm. Okay, so we have our Selenium Java here. Okay. I think this was the one this is the one we are using, 30.0. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is what I will do. I have so many open stuff here. Okay, so this is what I will do. I will look for an older version. Maybe this one with so many usages. 29.0. Let's check 29.0. Mm. Okay. How many intelligent do I have open here? Let's just go to this one. Okay, so I have 29. I will just replace it. Oh. All right, so you see that we have been able to achieve our launching of browser. So another thing is, if this is not working, we will restructure our code such that we put the um, element mapping in their right places, and then we will execute this code again. So that is what we will do after now. Let's see something. Mm. Okay, good. Mm. Okay, if it is not doing this, let me see if there is a way I can system out or print it. Mm. Yes. Let me see if it is getting to this line at all. All right. It's, no, so let's see where it is stopping now. It's still stopping. Oh, 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 oh. This driver is null. That is why it's not picking any get title. This driver is null. That is why it is not picking any get title. Okay. So, oh driver, why are you null? Why are you null, oh driver? Let's try this again. Oh, twice. Okay, here. Because I did that driver twice. But anyway, let's see. Say be this one will stop. Okay, so where did it stop? It moved to 26 this time around. Hey, interesting. Now let's see. It moved past 20 and got to what? 26. That's a good thing, right? Except that there's no printout on the console. Is there? So this is what we will do now. We will move, like I said earlier, because this is a test base, you're not supposed to be testing in here. So what will happen is I'll create a mapping and call it Selenium what again? Hmm, Selenium web form. Okay. So I'll call this one Selenium web form mappings. So normally when you want to start, if you have a test case that you want to automate, it's already written manually, and you just want to start automating it. Number one, you check the flow. Number two, you create your mappings class first. Selenium web form mappings. So you create your mappings and then your page object. So I am going to um create what's this one tell me? No, let's say public Selenium web form. Okay. So then let's go back to this and say all of this here. Copy and cut. So what you are doing is we want call this has to be has to be imported. Test page. Okay, let's extend from this test. Extends. You know what this means? You are extending from your test base. It means that you want to inherit some object properties from your test base. You want to inherit it within within this particular class. That is why I'm doing what I'm extending my test base. I have already instantiated my driver there. So mm, do, 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 do. Let's see again. Public insert super. Mm, I'm not going to put constructor there. Okay. So, but I am going to. Sure. Nobody's talking about that. I don't want to use super. I don't want to use super within my mappings. Okay, so maybe we can use our factory. I've been trying not to use this factory, but I think we can use our page object factory. Let's close all of this and go back to our Chrome. Okay, so there's something instead of using how will I call it now? There's something called the page object factory. The page object factory. I'm showing you all of this so that when you are doing stuffs like this, it's not like you are cramming it. You understand the basics of what you are doing. There's something called page object model and page object factory in Selenium. So let's look at this together. So If you're looking at my screen right now, you see I've opened something called Page Object Model and Page Factory in Selenium. Page Object Model and Factory are tools in Selenium that are properly used in test automation. So, how do you use this in your coding? Is a design pattern in Selenium that creates an object repository for storing all your web elements. So, I was trying to create those web elements. So, and I was looking for the best way to write it such that the web elements are properly managed, right? So, when you are doing something like that, you consider your what? Your page object model. Now, if you let me just send this link to you before I continue. Uh, where is this? Okay. So, here is an example. I want to create my page mappings that I mentioned just now. Sorry for all this. I have a cut or something. So this is an example here. Driver to find element, whatever, whatever. That is not the point of this page though. What is the import? The import, the import, no. This thing just said import, no. Mm, let's look for it. Mm, okay. So the one I'm looking for actually is not even on this page. So I'm going to look for another. I want to, yeah, this is what I'm looking for now. Page object factory. Page object factory is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for at the other one that they were doing. So we want to be able to use at find by instead of using find element by. Instead of using, you see, there's a difference between, let me copy this. There's a difference between this and oh, nice now. Okay. There's a difference between this guy, driver of find element by, and this guy that I just put here. You see the difference is this at find by. This at find by is what we call what? Page object factory. And when you are using page object factory, of course, we already talked about what are you finding by or what element, how do you get your element? We said yesterday by class name, by CSS selector, by name, by expert, by whatever. If you use find element by, you can also use all of this. If you also use at find by, you can also use all of this. The difference is that this one is easy to manipulate and is also easy to what will I call it now? See, lazy initialization. And the static method in page factory class, okay, init elements in static is using the init element method, one can initialize, one can okay. So this is what we will do. We will go back to our what's the name now? Our mappings. Now this is the example I was looking for. This is the kind of example I was looking for. Exactly. So let's go back there and use our page factory. Except that these people, you need to click on this to be able to see it because I was looking for the import for the page factory and it's not there. Okay, so let's go back and do this. So we will import Exactly. What a beautiful suggestion. Okay, now this thing is giving me suggestion because of this thing I copied here, by the way. That's one of the advantage of this approach I'm using. Okay, so we have add find by. I want to be able to use add find by instead of what? Dot find element, right? I want to be able to do that. So let's continue and let's put this one inside comment first. I will comment it out and then I will create my constructor. Let's create a constructor the other time. So I will say public Selenium web form mapping. Yeah, but I'm not using super. I'm not using it. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so we have this. Then we can put our web driver. This the driver will suffice. This, if you are new to constructor, I know if you have been in Java class by now, you already know what constructor is. But if you were not in those class, please review it or revise it. So we have this driver equals to what the heck is this? Make test base protected. Make test base driver public. Cause it is public. Insert super. No. Page factory dot init. Of course. Yeah. So now you see that this is okay. Yeah. So we have support page factory. Okay, that's fine. But I'm still having I still have an error here. Insert super. Should I? No. Mm, mm, I don't want to do that before, but let's just hope this work. Okay, I hope this will work. So, what is our first element we want to find? This one here. How we uncomment this? Is the text box, right? Now, you have a flow of test cases. Let me let me create a note here. I will call it hmm, I'll call it okay. I want to close that part. Let me use something else. Maybe Word document. What document we do? Word. We call something encoding an algorithm, and that is in for development. But when it comes to testers, you call it test scenarios. Okay. Now your test scenarios, it always what consists of test cases, of it. You're always having test cases. And each of these test cases always have what test steps. Okay. Now, algorithm is also do what shows the flow or the sequence of a program from one process to another. Now, that is exactly what these test steps will indicate by the time you start coding. Your test step says launch the browser. Let's assume that that is the first step, right? And then the second one says um typing or passing the URL, right? And then the third says um type like this one that we want to do here. So the third one says type something into the text input. Okay, so say type into the text input. And then maybe the fourth we say submit. Submit. If you write this normally and you submit, what will be okay? So when you submit, you say response received. Okay, so you have number 4, click submit button, right? And then number 5, and then number 5, you do what? Receive success response. Received. What is that? Okay, so success response received. Receive success response. Okay. Now, I just see this one as display. So what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to organize my thoughts into a sequence, into a process. When this is well organized, it will help you to know what is the first thing to write in your code, what is the next, and what is the next, like we are doing here. So don't forget, the first thing on this says navigate, launch the browser, navigate to the URL. Let's call this one navigate. So we already have a setup in our base URL, in our base test, that deals with number 1, number 2, right? Yeah, number 1 and number 2. We already have something like that. Number 3 will not happen unless we do what? We interact with it, right? Right? Number 3 will not happen unless we do what? We interact with it. So you want to interact with this test input, then you do what? You inspect. Yesterday we talked about that already. And let's just assume that you didn't get the inspection very well yesterday. So I will say it again. When you inspect like this and you click on here, on whatever element you want to inspect, web element you want to inspect, make sure that you're under inspect in DevTools. Yeah, under elements in DevTools. And number 2, make sure that when you are looking through this, if you can't find the element you need, maybe you want to use name, or you want to use ID, or you want to use name and ID, let's say name and ID. If you don't find this name and ID here, you can do what? Right click and copy CSS selector, right? So let us use CSS selector and see if this works. Yesterday we used is it name? Because Selenium here, they picked their own by name. Yes, by name. So let's use CSS selector. Okay. So using at find by, we will do something like this. So instead of using name now, I will use CSS. And that will be like that. You are wondering how I got that. I've already said it. I right clicked here and I copied it. So copy selector. The selector I copied is what I posted there. Is what I pasted here. Right? Is what I pasted here. Okay. I'm going to a selector. So I am going to call this one. Um, I'm going to call this one Web Elements text box. Web Elements text box. Right? Then the next one will be another as find by. For what? For this button. Because we want to type in the text and then what? Click on the submit button. So what do we do here? We put the submit. Sorry. So let's look for what we will use for interacting with this. So I have button type submit class this. By the way, it's not advisable to use class name, by the way, because it is possible that one web element that class name may not be unique, meaning that there may be other web element that has the same class name. So by the time your code starts executing, it will see more than one element, and at the end of the day, it's going to fail that test. So it's always advisable to use either CSS selector or your ID. If name is there, you use it. Okay, so I'm going to do what? I'm going to copy selector here again, because I know that it was not selector that was used in the documentation. So let me use this CSS and see what comes out of there. So I have this, and then I'll paste that. Okay, then I can call this one also web element submit button. So you see we have this. Now these are what mappings. So I call it what? Your mappings class, because you're trying to do what? To map web elements to what? To their actual elements. By the way, these are web elements. It's also possible to convert them to object mappings. We won't talk about that yet. Let's go on to our page. Now, the next thing you want to do is, after checking what the web element is, you want to be able to interact with it, right? We click on it, send keys. We talked about those yesterday. So we say new Java class. You call it. Let's call this one also Selenium web form page. Selenium web form page. Okay. So this will also extend I don't know where it says base page. Test. We call it test base, right? Yeah, we call it test base. Okay, so we have this class extending our why is it already having okay, this is our class, right? Now let's continue. We want to what if I suggestion? No, we don't need to extend here anymore. Since our mappings are extended, I guess. Let me leave this here and say um public static void I can create a main method, but nothing will be happening yet. Then I can also create. What method should we create? The first method we should create, let's go back here. There's a method called you type in, right? You type in Selenium. So we can say let's see. Okay, uh we can use the principle of getters and setters on this page, which means we may also write a constructor. Let's see. Let's see how this goes. Instead of this, I will write a constructor and call it public Selenium web form constructor, and this will also be your web. Mhm. Okay. Don't I have don't I have this already? Mm, mm, Okay. So I can say public static void set text box value void. This is my typing. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm creating a special method that will do what? That is going to perform the action of typing into this text input. So I will call it any name I want, like what I have done here. Set text box value. And then I can say Charlie, it does not have to do this. I will leave that out. And I can say da, 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 da. Let's go back to test base. So we have our text box dot send keys. That's what we have. Text box dot send key. So this text box is the same name that you called it under the mappings, right? I've tried to take my time to explain this. So, so you come here. Where am I? Okay, so you come here and use the same word, the same text box, the same name, dot send keys. Now, text box, by the way, have we imported from web mappings? We should import from web mappings, from Selenium web form mappings. Okay, let's import it. Import 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 org dot qfit qfit dot this dot pages no the mappings the map exactly, this is what I want. Okay. Why web element text box? We already did that. Create local variable web element text box. So I can say that I have already introduced that. This is tautology. It's not good. It's not a good method. All right. So another way of doing this is by, let's see another way we can do this. Because we already have our mappings here, right? Am I the only one talking? Let me even see. Is there anybody in this class? Hey,
Yeah, we are here. Oh.
that seems boring.
No, we are
Looks like
here.
I'm the only one talking to myself.
No, 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 no. We are
Okay,
here.
We are
great.
here.
Okay,
We are
great.
here.
Good, good, good.
Diligently, we are following.
Okay, so we have this text box here that is already called what? Web Elements. So we want to make use of this text box and create an action on it, an action called what? Send keys, right? So I am trying to pass it here, but I also have some error. Cannot resolve symbol 18 hmm, because because it does not acknowledge it as a variable, as a web element. So probably uh so I will say I'll make use of let's see. Okay. So I can now say um let's see. Selenium webform.textboard send key value. Hmm. Web form mappings. Yes, I can call call textbook directly from web form mappings, but I don't want to call it directly from it. That was why I imported it. Yes, I can call it directly. So what it means is I want to access text box that is inside mappings. I want to access it directly from the page. Okay. So what do? I can also use that method by saying the class name such that it now becomes an object. If you recall how we said you can call other methods in another method, in another class, or in another method. Now, we have web form mapping as a class here. I remember. Then we want to make use of one of its elements inside this page. So I can say this dot the text box, right? The text. Look at how breaking anything. There's a text box, but I'm still having error. Then dot send keys. Create field text box. Or am I not copying the right field text box? Where is it? No, that is a very bad idea. So this is not going to fly. Therefore, I'm going to cancel. Mm-mm. I can make this though. I can make this web element static. Web element. There is a way I can make it accessible. Hold on. Web element. Web element text box is a little bit big, but let's just leave it like that. I should not tamper with this. There should be another way of doing this. Okay, so any better way of doing this? Um, um, this will be the perfect way, the very perfect means of. What do you call it? Test box is not public. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do that. So I can make this public static web element text box. Uh-huh. Can do something like this, but is there any other related problem again? Oh, yeah. Oh, we have to clean this out. Let's go. Let's see something. Okay. I can also do the same thing here. Public static web element submit button. Now, if you come here, if you come here, you see that our arrow has disappeared. Now, we have this method to say type in something. Take in a string value and type it. Dot send key. Now, there's another method called the click, right? Click submit button. I like this. I like this one. So I'll call it click submit button. Now, this click submit button um takes the submit button. What? Let's check. What did we call it here? Submit button. So it's the same name. So you come here and you make sure it is the same name. Dot click. Now you see all of these methods have no usages. What do I mean? Look at it here. No usages. It has highlighted it for you. It's completely useless for now, right? Even though we have written them, they are not being called anywhere else. But if you come here, you see that this one still have a related problem. Oh, it's still in base class. Let's remove it. Okay, so if you come here, you see that you have one usage, one usage. What does that mean? It means that for this element here, it has been used somewhere else. If you click on it, you see where it has been used. It will take you to where it has been used, right? The same thing goes for here. Click on it, it goes to where it has been used. So it has been used here once. So it will give it the numbers of times it has been used and so on. Okay, now that we have that, let me see. Okay, I think I may know why I couldn't use it earlier. We did not extend from the other class, from the mappings. We not extend from mappings. So, but that is no longer needed. If we had extended from mappings, I think, let me even experiment with it. From Selenium web mappings, if I had extended this from Selenium web mappings, what would have happened? Yes, I would have inserted super here, driver, and this one could have been, let me see, if, I'm just saying if this were not public statics, just web element text box, then I could use, no, I could not. Okay, so it is not, that's not the issue. All right, so let's just take it back to, mm, I don't need test piece here yet, so, mm, mm, okay, okay. Okay, so now we have our mappings class done, right? Is it done? I think we still have another thing to do, right? Submit button, after submit button, we have display success response received. So display success response received is supposed to, like, let's see how Selenium did it earlier. They said web element message dot driver dot find element by hiding message and then get the text. So this one here, we can also do find by, let's use their hide for this one. So we can do, let me cut it and put it in. So here you have what? Web element message. So I want to use find by instead of, so we'll do had find by. So yeah, hide the message, correct. So then we remove this and say public static we want to be able to access. this element anywhere else. Okay, no problem. Oh yeah, message.getText. Now, this message.getText will come into somewhere here. So you can call it, create another method for it called get message text or something, or received message. Okay, so um this is correct. Return Selenium web form dot message. We called it message here, right? Yes, message. So message dot what get text. Now all of these methods are not used like we said earlier until you go and write your test. So this is what happens. You are going to write your test inside of what? This place. So now I will create for Selenium web form. I will create a class test called Selenium web form, right? Um Web form test. Let's just call it that. Okay. Now I can say Selenium web form extends, right? Extends the test base. Mhm. Mm, I must say, okay, I like this very good idea. Aha. Now, though I'm not taking everything in. There's nothing called launch browser inside my test base. Is there? No. Let's look at our test base again. Okay, now we come back to our test base. We have almost cleaned up this particular test base. We have the get title. This time around. So let's remove all of these test things. We don't need them. Driver.q, we don't need them. In fact, these two, we don't need the main class. Okay. So what we need is what? The setup. Yeah. This constructor, the setup, this driver. And we can decide, yeah, driver dot. Let's maximize it. What maximize is saying is that you make the browser, you maximize it, you make it big. You know, when you maximize and when you minimize the browser, just the normal minimizing and maximizing of browser. So we can maximize the browser after typing navigator to the URL, right? So you can also, of course, separate the methods. Maybe the method of maybe launching, you separate it from navigating to browser. You can do that, but it's not necessary for this example. So, um, um, what happened to, there's another bracket that is not here. Public as test base. Okay, it's there. I was looking for it. Okay, so it's fine. Now we'll go back to our test and call our setup. So this is our test. This is our test. Okay, so there is nothing called this. There's nothing called this. There's nothing called this. Okay. Now, public static void main. I'm not going to do this either. Okay, so what I will do is I will just write a method called public static um Selenium web form test, right? Mhm. Before that, let me do my constructor. Public, yep. And then, why am I still having error? Okay, why am I still having error? There's still error here. Okay, so I have my test here called Selenium Webform test. Seems there's still. Remove first parameter from constructor test base. Remove driver. Okay, yeah. I should go and remove it. Why? Because I'm extending it, so I should not even use it here. Okay, let's see again. I have constructor in test base, don't I? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's come back here and say, mm, and say instead of that, I can just say test base. Why is it private? I say test base, and then test base, da. Okay, no, that is not going to fly. Love, you are not going to fly. I think this will fly. Okay. Yes, this should work. So what I'm doing now is I want to ensure that my test base reflects in my test. Otherwise, I will just be writing a test that is not going to get executed. Test base is very important. It is where you define your driver and your what's the name now? Your setup in general. You have all of this here, and you want it to perform that before it runs your test. So we have not even talked about all these test ng. We will come to test ng. Don't worry. When it comes to test ng has these annotations that helps to check what you do before you execute a test, what you do while executing a test, and after executing a test, and so on. So let's continue with this test and see how we can proceed. So we have what our test base. I will call it is already call it this one. So no, I don't. I will just say yeah, test base dot setup or so. How come I can't miss a setup here? Or I can just call setup directly. Should be able to call. Our setup is here now. Okay. Some so 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 so. Yes, so I'm calling setup first. So what is my setup? Check again. Sequence flow of execution. We have mentioned it over and over. The flow of execution of a code from this point to that point. If you have not watched that video, if you're not in class before now, you go and watch what flow of execution means, right? So by calling setup first in this test, I am saying that I want this thing to acknowledge my cron driver, navigate to this, and then maximize. Good. So after doing that, then it will now call other tests, which I will now So this is now what we call what? The test steps. Okay? So let's put it here and say test steps. Okay, so the first thing is what? You run the setup. The second thing is you type in, right? Is that not what we want to do? Navigate to the URL, type in the text input, click the submit button. So what do you do here? You go back to this place, all right? So where do you type it? This is the method you use for typing it. So you come here and say what is the name of that page? Selenium web form page. That is what it is. So Selenium web form page. Selenium web form page. Yes, it will ask you to import it because you have to import it to be able to access it. Now, this is it here. This is your Selenium web form page. So the fact that it is imported here, you can actually use it. TestBase is also imported here, so we have our setup. So I have what? Selenium web form page dot set text box. Type in anything. You can call it welcome to Selenium web forms. Welcome to Selenium web forms. So what is the next thing you want to do? You want to click on submit. This is also good. If you go back to this page, you see that now it is one usage and one usage. This one is showing where it has been used. Yeah, it takes us back if you click on it. And then this one also shows where it has been used. So these are the test steps. The next thing is what you want to make sure that you get this message. All right. Now, if you look at that method, that last method, this last method, what is it doing? Publish static string get message text. That is, you want to get the message on the screen. If you have done the exploratory test, you see what you want. We want, let's see again. Once you type whatever you want to type here and you submit, you want to see this here, received. This was what we inspected yesterday, I think. Yeah, ID message. Can you see received? So you want to see received. Want to see received. So you are here now. Okay. So we want it to return what? The get text received. The get text received. So we will say, not sure what this. We will say print out this message to the console so that we know that this has been received. On a normal day, when we get to the part of assertion and validation, you know that when you get to that part where you want to confirm that the user has done something successfully or a successful message was received after clicking of a button, after an action has happened, you want validation of certain outputs, then you can assert. So we are not talking about assert yet. So we are just talking about how you write your what, your test cases, your test steps, especially in this class. So this is all we have here. So this is already asking me to assert. I'm not asserting yet. Okay. Now let's see how this flow works. Now nothing is going to happen yet. We now have to talk about our test engine. Because we need to execute this test and we need to know which test to execute first and second and all of that. As you can see, even if you want to execute anything now, There is no play button to execute it. The only test that looks visible to be executed now is in the what? The test base. In fact, it's not there anymore because I have removed the main method to execute it. Okay, now let's go back to our test engine. That's the last thing we are touching before we close this. Before we close this class, before we call it a weekend. Looking for my Chrome browser. Okay, this thing that has blocked everything. Let me find a way to drag this somewhere else. Stay there. Okay, so we have our test ng. Let's use a different tab. Our test ng. Our test ng. Okay, so we talked briefly about test ng yesterday. I think we have even installed it in our POM already. Now we said test engine helps you to do what, to manage your test, right? Now, when you have a test like the one we have written, how do you now use it? It's a very simple thing. As you can see on this screen, you can see at test before class. Okay. Now, that is an example of what we can use right now. So let's see. We have this test here. So we can use at test. So when you use at test now, you see that this play button has come up very fast. It's the annotation from test engine. So we want to execute this test. I can execute it current file. I can execute the current file directly, which means that it's going to go through the entire file, and then when it gets to at test, it will also going to. No test was found. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's execute this first. Okay, no test was found again. Okay, so let's check our code. Make sure it can be instantiated. An error occurred while instantiating class. QA fit. Which class is that? Okay. Class. Okay, this one here. Check to make sure it can be instantiated. Okay. Okay, so what is the error? Let's be sure. Okay. So I have my setup. Blah, 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 blah. Choose subclass of the set two cases found. Okay. Selenium web form. We will continue the debugging and provide solution to this issue in the next video. So see you in the next video. Make sure to watch and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.